Greetings, Commanders. Radlock here with another Fuel Rats video, this one commemorating my 200th rescue. Spoiler warning, I guess. Not all rescues play out the same, though, and success is not always a guarantee. When the call came in for this rescue, I knew it was going to be a challenge. A case-read scenario with a commander that had exhausted their fuel in Super Cruise and was now losing oxygen somewhere near Gliese 748.2. which is actually the primary star in the starter system of LHS 3447. I picked up the case and jumped into the system, getting ready to position myself at a location to reach the client in time for a rescue. But therein lies the problem. With no time to lose, how am I supposed to know where the client ended up in order to have any chance of reaching them in time once they log in? With little more than a minute of oxygen left, we couldn't risk having the client log in for a quick wing beacon fix, so I decided to get some more information from the client in order to retrace their flight path in the system to have a good estimate of their position. After getting some background information that the client had just picked up a mission after starting the game, I determined that they had left Trevithick Dock in the direction of Aerovate at Super Cruise, which would put them a long distance away by the time fuel ran out. The client confirmed that they had been traveling about 50 minutes before turning around and heading for the primary star. With this information, I set about having myself and fellow rat ground stop retrace the flight path as best we could, while a third rat, Dr. Zenny, would remain near the primary star to get a better fix on a wing beacon with heading and distance in the event we were too far off on our positioning. Fortunately, after talking some more with the client, it was revealed that they had actually taken a screenshot of their navigation panel before logging off, giving us the exact spacing to more than half a dozen nearby celestial bodies. The caveat here would be that, after retracing the flight path to get into position, this information was going to be an hour old, and things in space tend to be moving fairly fast. The new plan then was to put all rats on the mark, as close as we could get, and hope that we would be within range to lock onto and reach the beacon before the client's oxygen ran out. Too far and we would have to risk logging the client out again without having a solid position reference to go off of. I worked on positioning myself using the client's screenshot as reference, and managed to get within a few hundred light seconds of most of the reference points. At this distance from any gravity wells, the Super Cruise speed limit was still fairly high, at around 1,500 times the speed of light, so we did have some space to run if we weren't exactly on target. Due to the wing beacon mechanics only requiring us to be within 5 times the Super Cruise speed limit in order to drop into the client's instance, we were looking at a threshold of around 7,500 light seconds. Hopefully, we wouldn't be much further off. All that was left was to get the client to invite us to a wing, activate the beacon, and wait for the moment of truth. "87,000 light seconds was a lot further off than I thought we would be, but it was still under the 100,000 limit I figured we would have at this speed in order to make it to the beacon in time with one attempt. Rather than risk the lost time on a second attempt of logging the client out and back in again, I pushed on towards the signal, my fellow fuel rats joining the pursuit. Maybe one of them had managed to get ever so closer on their initial position. To get an idea of what we were up against, I asked the client for an update on their oxygen status. With still just more than a minute of oxygen remaining, I had good confidence we could reach them in time. But the next 30 seconds would be simultaneously the most painstakingly slow and yet seemingly quickly passing, as the fuel rats raced against time to reach the client. Success is not always a guarantee, and though we had been cautious in setting this rescue up by having everyone restart their game clients in order to get fresh connections to the server, instancing would still have its part to play in this rescue.
Programming limpet drone. Transferring fuel. Programming limpet drone. Transferring fuel.
And so, with seconds remaining, a new commander is spared a horrible fate, and perhaps learns an important lesson about the galaxy they have ventured out into. Though the black may be cold, lonely, and dangerous. When your fuel tank is in need, there will always be the fuel rats to call upon for help. Fly safe, Commander.